Hi everyone, Matt here. Just a quick message for any new listeners joining us. The current book we're reading is Alice's Adventures in Wonderland, which we started in episode 2. So if you're new to the podcast, I'd suggest going back to episode 2 and binge listening from there so that you can catch up with the storyline and know what's going on. On with the show. Hello and welcome to the Lazy Book Club podcast, the book club for those who don't want to read or leave the house. My name is Matt Gonzalez.
I'm David Cox.
And I'm Josh Matheson.
And this week we are reading chapter 4.
Of Alice's Adventures in Wonderland.
Yes, I'm finally getting the title right. So let's just have a recap of what happened last week. We had some kind of race.
The caucus race.
The caucus race, the political race, which was a physical...
Run around.
Dramatic, crazy race.
Mostly pointless, wasn't
Mostly
it?
pointless,
Lots
yes.
of birds from around the world just running around. To get dry, don't forget. That was the reason.
Because they drowned in the tears.
Yes,
Yeah.
and a Jamaican crab looking on,
Cameo of a
judging.
Jamaican crab. And its little Jamaican crab child.
And let's not forget the first way they tried to get dry was by a French mouse telling them a history.
A dry story.
From the 11th century was a dry story.
Yes.
That was the first way, not like, shall we look for a towel?
No, I'm going to tell you the driest thing. Shall we look for a towel?
Shall I shake myself? No. Let's listen to this boring story about William the Conqueror.
I like the mouse, but I hope we don't see that much of him again.
I don't think we will.
I feel like the mouse is
served
work
its
is done.
purpose.
Yeah.
As it is as a literary device, I feel the mouse is done.
I mean, judging by the title, we're going to see the return of a character who, funnily enough, is so symbolic of this book, but has not really been in it so far.
Really not that much.
The White Rabbit.
Yeah.
He's going to be making an appearance. I mean, unless it's a different rabbit, I don't know. But
Well, the chapter is called The Rabbit Sends In a Little Bill.
So we're assuming that he's charging someone for something. So
He's an electrician.
he's buying.
It's not going to be a little bill.
No, exactly. No,
It's
definitely
an emergency one called out at 3 a.m. That's
Oh,
why he's
God.
late.
There you go.
not. So should we dive in?
Let's go.
Chapter 4.
Great. It was the White Rabbit, trotting slowly back again and looking anxiously about as it went, as if it had lost something, and she heard it muttering to itself, the Duchess, oh my dear paws, my fur and whiskers, she'll get me executed as sure as ferrets are ferrets. How can I have dropped them, I wonder? Alice guessed in a moment that it was looking for the fan and the pair of white kid gloves, and she very good-naturedly began hunting about for them, but they were nowhere to be seen. Everything seemed to have changed since her swim in the pool, and the great hall, with the glass table and the little door, had vanished completely.
So she's no longer in this corridor.
Well,
with the
apparently
pool.
not. I always thought that she did get through the door to the garden, but
No, she's still in the same room, but the room seems to be morphing.
it's gone, yeah.
They conveniently
Moved.
don't describe the setting that much.
No,
Yeah.
it seems. I'm imagining
Open
like
to
a
interpretation.
cabin where things appear and disappear, and
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
you just kind of have to work with it.
Very soon the rabbit noticed Alice as she went hunting about, and called out to her in an angry tone, "Why, Mary Ann, what on earth are you doing here?"
Not her name.
No, definitely not her name. "Why, Mary Ann, what are you doing out here? Run home this moment and fetch me a pair of gloves and a fan. Quick, now!" And Alice was so much frightened that she ran off at once in the direction it pointed to, without trying to explain the mistake it had made. "He took me for his housemaid," she said to herself as she ran. "How surprised he'll be when he finds out who I am. But I'd better take him his fan and gloves, that is, if I can find them." As she said this, she came upon a neat little house, on the door of which was a bright
Blow up?
blah, blah, blah.
A blow up door.
Oh no, don't.
Sorry.
As she said this, she came upon a neat little house, on the door of which was a bright brass plate, with the name W. Rabbit engraved upon it.
So is his first name White?
I think it is.
Oh wow.
I didn't realise that.
William.
That's fantastic.
William.
White Rabbit. First name White, last name Rabbit. She went in without knocking and hurried upstairs, in great fear lest she should meet the real Mary Ann and be turned out of the house before she had found the fan and gloves. "How queer it seems," Alice said to herself, to be going messages for a rabbit. There's a phrase. I don't know that. To be going
going messages.
To be going messages.
That's fallen out.
I mean, there's a few things where like sentences are structured
I've fallen out of
very
favour.
differently. Yeah.
There you go. I suppose Dinah will be sending me on messages next. And she began fancying the sort of thing that would happen.
What, her cat sending messages to her?
This is her cat.
What would the cat get her to do?
What would the cat do?
Lick her bum?
Well, let's find out. This is exactly...
No, I'm guessing she'd be like taking a message from the cat to someone else, or maybe a cat like writing to another cat, going like, "Meet me behind the bike."
Get
shed
out
or
of my
something.
garden,
Yeah.
or I'll piss on a tree.
Well, this is exactly where we're going.
That's mine.
This is the cat
That-
right here. Miss Alice, come here directly and get ready for your walk. Coming in a minute, nurse. I've got to watch this mouse hole till Dinah comes back and see that the mouse doesn't get out. Only, I don't think, Alice went on, that they'd let Dinah stop in the house if it began ordering people about like that.
Josh just did the
I'm
most
just like-
perturbed, like little what?
I was like, what is that sentence? Sure.
The confusion on your face after reading that was just priceless.
Thank you. By this time, she had found her way into a tidy little room with a table in the window, and on it, as she had hoped, a fan and 2 or 3 pairs of tiny white kid gloves.
So is she in this? She's in a house now, right?
She's now in a house.
So the items have magically disappeared from where she dropped them and have now reappeared.
I guess so.
In this
Or has
person's
the
house.
rabbit got more than one pair?
I reckon he's got a million fans.
He's got a whole
Yeah.
room.
I reckon he's
full
got
of
a
fans.
room full
Yes.
of fans.
He has a
Let's
fan
go.
room.
Of all of, to be fair, of all of the things in this book, that's one of the things I'm most certain about. That ain't his only fan, because he'd have been more annoyed than he was.
Yeah, it's true. I think that's the most fantastic thing I've heard as well. Of all of the places I want to
Fantastic.
visit, I want exactly. But
There's a fan museum.
all
in
right,
Greenwich.
Alice, steady on with the puns. I think out of all the places in Wonderland so far, I want to visit the fan room.
Oh, sure, yeah. You said there's a fan museum?
There's a fan museum in Greenwich. I've
Are you
never been.
serious?
That's
Yeah,
extraordinary.
they don't need aircon. No,
Can you take us on a tour one time?
I don't know anything about
I think we
it.
should. Yeah, but you can like look it up, or you can just make it up. We won't know.
This fan is more fanny than that one.
You can't say Fanny.
Well, I'm not saying it the same word. Like the same way, like monkey means monk-like. Do you know what I mean?
It's just a little bit monkey. Excellent. She took up the fan and a pair of the gloves and was just going to leave the room when her eye fell upon a little bottle that stood near the looking glass. There was no label this time with the words "drink me"
Or poison.
or "poison," but nevertheless she uncorked it and put it to her lips. I know
She's not learning now.
She's not learning.
She's not considering
Or
the
she's
consequences.
just given up and she's like,
She
you know what?
has.
Just let it happen.
I think she's realised that like nothing so far has killed her.
Yeah.
So maybe she's just gone, "Do you know what? Maybe I can't die.
That's it.
Whatever doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
Whatever doesn't kill you makes you stupider, apparently.
There's that too.
Well, I hate that thing. Whatever doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Like you could be nearly killed by a deer, or like nearly hitting a deer by a car.
Yeah.
That does not make you stronger.
Definitely.
It gives you trauma.
It's true. What doesn't kill you gives you trauma.
Yeah.
I think that's
a
more
new
accurate.
t-shirt slogan.
I nearly got beaten half to death.
Oh, wait, you actually-
No.
Oh, sorry. I
No,
thought
I'm
you were
thinking of
I thought you were
nearly
saying you
kills
actually hit a deer.
No.
It nearly
No, I
was.
slapped one once, but
Oh,
no.
my
it was-
God.
You slapped a deer?
yeah, he was calling me a dick. There you go.
What region was he from?
Cool. Somewhere down west. I know something interesting is sure to happen, she said to herself, whenever I eat or drink anything. So I'll just see what this bottle does. I hope it'll make me grow large again, for really I'm quite tired of being such a tiny little thing. It did so indeed, and much sooner than she had expected. Before she had drunk half the bottle, she found her head pressing against the ceiling and had to stoop to save her neck from being broken. She hastily put down the bottle, saying to herself, "That's quite enough. I hope I shan't grow any more. As it is, I can't get out of the door. I do wish I hadn't quite drunk so much."
I know that
I
feeling.
think we've all felt that at one point. Yeah, good. Alas, it was too late to wish that. She went on growing, and very soon had to kneel down on the floor. In another minute, there was not even room for this, and she tried the effect of lying down with one elbow against the door and the other arm curled around her head.
So this is
Trying
like
that out.
this. Is this the Gwen Stefani house moment?
Yeah.
We're all just doing some...
We're doing. I have to try and imagine.
No, yeah, visualise it.
I imagine.
I
she's
don't
knocking...
understand how this makes you smaller.
She's got one elbow against the door,
She knocks
and the
stuff
other
off
arm
the
is
wall.
curled around her head.
Like, is there like China?
I
things
can't
from
remember
it?
if there was any other. These were on the side somewhere, weren't there? Wasn't there like a table with a?
There's a tape. No, there's a table that had the gloves and the fan on it.
It was a table, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. It's good. Still, she went on growing, and as a last resource, she put one arm out of the window and 1 foot up the chimney, and said to herself, "Now I can do no more. Whatever happens, what will become of me?" Luckily for Alice, the little magic bottle now had its full effect, and she grew no larger.
Could you imagine anything more terrifying than walking down the street and just seeing an arm coming out a window and a giant leg coming out of the chimney?
Terrifying.
But in this land.
Oh no, I know. We're just putting it in the real world. I just
Yeah.
think like you'd wonder what you'd smoked that day.
I think you would.
You'd probably walk quicker.
Tutting.
A little bit. Still, it was very uncomfortable, and as there seemed to be no sort of chance of her ever getting out of the room again, no wonder she felt unhappy. It was much pleasanter at home, thought Alice. When one wasn't always growing larger and smaller and being ordered about by mice and rabbits, I almost wish I hadn't gone down that rabbit hole. And yet, it's rather curious, you know, this sort of life. I do wonder what can have happened to me. When I used to read fairy tales, I fancied that kind of thing never happened, and now here I am in the middle of one. There ought to be a book written about me, that there ought.
Fourth wall broken.
Uh-huh.
And when I grow up, I'll write one.
I imagine this is like a wink and a nudge.
That
Do you know what I
definitely is a
mean?
wink and a nudge.
Yeah.
And when I grow up, I'll write one. But I'm grown up now, she added in a sorrowful tone. At least there's no room to grow up any more here. But then, thought Alice, shall I never get any older than I am now? That'll be a comfort one way, never to be an old woman. But then, always to have lessons to learn. Oh, I shouldn't like that. Oh, you foolish Alice, she answered herself. How can you learn lessons in here? Why, there's hardly any room for you, and no room at all for any lesson books. And so she went on, taking first one side and then the other, and making quite a conversation of it altogether. But
She needed those birds.
she really
just
did.
So she'd
Just
shut
something
up.
to bounce off. But after a few minutes, she heard a
I love
voice
it goes
outside.
making a conversation of it. Like you're talking to yourself, Alice. That's not a
So
conversation.
what? Not even more weird than this shoe out of a chimney. I don't know. Her teeth are out of a gutter. Her arse, her posterior is out
Hanging
of
out
the
the back
kitchen
door.
window. You go, well, it would be weird to be old, but then it wouldn't be. It's like, shut up.
Just stop talking.
Maybe you'll think of a solution, or maybe the rabbit will see you and go, oh yeah, just eat the banana.
That's what he said.
The banana of courage.
The banana. But after a few minutes, she heard a voice outside and stopped to listen. Marianne, Marianne, said the voice, fetch me my gloves this moment. Then came a little pattering of feet on the stairs. Alice knew it was the rabbit coming to look for her, and she trembled till she shook the house, quite forgetting that she was now about 1,000 times as large as the rabbit and had no reason to be afraid of it.
Yeah.
She's fine. She'd just
Yeah,
bash
watch
him
it.
away. Presently, the rabbit came up to the door and tried to open it, but as the door opened inwards and Alice's elbow was pressed hard against it, that attempt proved a failure. Alice heard it say to itself, "Then I'll go round and get in at the window." That you won't, thought Alice, and after waiting till she fancied she heard the rabbit just under the window, she suddenly spread out her hand and made a snatch in the air. She did not get hold of anything, but she heard a little shriek and a fall, and a crash of broken glass, from which she concluded that it was just possible it had fallen into a cucumber frame, or something of the sort. Is that where you grow
Cucumber frame.
Is that where you grow cucumbers?
I have no idea.
You know, like a
yeah, no,
trellis.
I know what you mean.
Has the rabbit seen her? Yeah.
I mean, he's
No, I think
there's a
she's
leg
just
hanging out
bashed
of
him
his.
away, bashed her away.
He's got
and he's
windows. He's got.
I don't know what's happened.
He's not gone. There's a gigantic girl in my.
Oh, yeah. So apparently, cucumbers like you grow them on a trellis.
Great.
So a cucumber frame is like one of those like
It's a
A-frame.
very
kind of
particular
thing.
reference. isn't
Yeah,
it?
I mean, Lewis obviously has some very wide hobbies,
Sure.
from gardening to beaches to knowing the center of the earth.
Yeah.
I'm very impressed with his knowledge.
yeah.
Because, I mean, this is the time where he couldn't just Google this. He would have to go and look it up in the library. So for that one sentence, he's probably gone away and done like half an hour's research.
Can you imagine?
Just to go and find out, how many miles
How many is it
it?
from the center of the earth?
Oh, I just got home from the library hypothesising about keyholes. God.
Do you think he wrote out all the research he'd have to do and then go to the library?
That's
for the
it, do a
day?
little trip every week.
You just have to be more organised, don't you?
Or he sent a boy running. That's what they did in
Mary
those
Ann.
times, didn't he? Hey, you,
Send
boy!
Marianne.
Yeah.
Marianne and Dinah and Mabel. The trio of down and outs.
They're all downstairs folk, aren't they?
Yeah.
Next came an angry voice, the rabbit's. Pat! Pat, where are you? And then a voice she had never heard before. What does the voice she'd never heard before sound like?
What's her name? Pat.
Pat. I think it's a boy, but it's Pat.
Upper class. Oh, do we know? We can't really have another
We can have another,
falsetto.
we can have another Cockney. Can we?
No, I mean, I'm thinking Pat from EastEnders with the big earrings.
Fine, let's go with it.
Yeah.
She kind of had like a smoky voice. Like.
She coughed after every comma.
Okay, fine. Every
smoker's
punctuation. Good.
Clang, clang, clang of the earrings as well.
Fine. Good. Let's back up. You do the earrings. And then a voice she had never heard before. Sure, I'm here. Digging for apples, Your Honour.
Digging for apples.
Digging for apples,
I mean,
indeed.
I'm no gardener, but I'm pretty sure apples don't grow in the ground.
I trust Lewis Carroll,
Look,
mate.
all right.
I'm going to Google this and find some underground apple that went extinct or something
Yeah.
in the 19th century.
That's it. Digging for apples, indeed, said the rabbit.
The rabbit.
Said the rabbit angrily. Here, come and help me out of this. Sounds of more broken glass. There was a stage direction in there. Oh! that glass wasn't empty, was it?
No, I thought it was. Sorry. I won't do any more.
Sound effects. No, that's all your water. You're not having any more than
There
that.
was about 2 mil, but there you go. But we get the idea. She's got earrings.
Now tell me, Pat, what's that in the window? Sure, it's an autumn. Your Honour.
Can you cough after the words? Because I'm struggling to hear what you're saying.
It might be the most important thing in the book.
Sure, it's an autumn. Your Honour. He pronounced it arum. Gives us a little pronunciation.
Right, okay.
Yeah,
I don't
good.
know what that is.
As in an arm, but he
Oh,
pronounces
an
it.
arm.
He pronounces it arum.
So maybe she's meant to have an accent. Who would normally pronounce Arum?
Arum.
Maybe
What,
she is meant to be
Arum
Scottish.
Oak
Maybe a Scot, obviously. Arum. Maybe.
No, that we can save. We got
can't-
to keep it in the
let's
bank.
Move on. Pat's not for long. Look.
Can we just make her Scottish from now then?
No,
Oh.
we have to save because it might
Got to lock
be
in
better.
first choices. Look.
Okay, all right.
It's even funnier though.
An arm, you goose? Whoever saw one that size? Why, it fills the whole window. Sure it does, Your Honour. But it's an arm for all that. Well, it's got no business here at any rate. Go and take it away. There was a long silence after this, and Alice could only hear whispers now and then, such as, Sure, I don't like it, Your Honour. At all. At all. Do as I tell you, you coward. And at last, she spread out her hand again and made another snatch in the air. This time there were 2 little shrieks and more sounds of broken glass.
So hang on. They're saying there's an arm in the house.
There's an arm out the window.
But no one's kind of thought that might be connected to a body, i.e. the leg out the chimney
That's just
or
This is
the
what I
eye.
said for this. I think you'd probably see her from the outside.
Well, this is it. He's like, there's an arm in my house, and that's it. Like, just the arm's the problem.
Oh, yeah. I don't know. Would you not see a big eye in the window?
Well, that's what
Yeah,
I mean.
that's what I mean.
Or you would
It's just the same
assume...
thing.
Normally, when you see a body part, you normally assume it's attached to a body. You don't normally go, oh, there's an arm sticking out of this bed. It must be just an arm.
Maybe rabbits are used to disembodied limbs.
Oh.
Oh, what a world. They work at the Tower of London, I don't know.
This time there were 2 little shrieks and more sounds of broken glass. What a number of cucumber frames there must be, thought Alice. I wonder what they'll do next. And as for pulling me out of the window, I only wish they could. I'm sure I don't want to stay in here any longer. She waited for some time without hearing anything more. At last came a rumbling of little cart wheels and the sound of a good many voices all talking together. She made out the words. There's lots of voices talking at once. Good.
Well, can you give us lines? Can we join in?
Cool.
No, yeah, good. Okay. It's going to be chaos. It's going to be...
Yeah, but that's the.
Let's make it.
No, okay, great. Look, okay, can we see this?
Okay, I'm gonna like start here,
Great.
and if you start at the top,
This is-
and then if you start like here. Okay.
Where's the other...
Nay, I shan't.
Where's
You
the
do
other
it.
ladder?
No, I won't then.
slime.
Bill,
Bill's
to
got
go
the-
down.
Bill!
Bill,
But
Master
there it
Edge
is,
got to
lad.
go down the chimney.
Well enough.
Oh,
Here,
Marcy,
Bill.
ain't you?
Oh, catch hold of
Do
the
it.
rope. Will the roof bear? Mind that loose... Oh, it's coming down. Oh, heads below. Now, who did that?
Nailed it.
I mean,
I think that was...
let's not try and do it again because I can't.
As a one-time try, I think it was all right.
Imagine that was the rest of the book.
Oh
I
God.
wouldn't get any more listens. would we?
Now, who did that? It was Bill, I fancy. Who's to go down the chimney? Nay, I shan't. You do it. That I won't. Bill to go down... Here, Bill! The master says you've got to go down the chimney. Oh, so Bill's got to come down the chimney, has he? Said Alice to herself. Why, they seem to put everything upon Bill. I wouldn't be in Bill's place for a good deal. This fireplace is narrow, to be sure, and I think I can kick a little.
Wait, is this the Bill?
This is little Bill.
This is the Bill.
This is Bill.
Ah.
Bill's a dude.
Bill's a dude.
Bill's a man.
Yeah.
Or a
Could
rabbit.
Bill be
or-
a surfer dude? Because we've decided.
Of course he
that.
can. I know.
Like, surfs up.
Californication.
Oh, like the
Hang
turtle
low,
from
dude.
like
Do it.
the turtle.
Yeah,
from
yeah.
I don't even know
the-
if he speaks yet, but let's find out.
Okay.
She drew her foot as far down the chimney as she could and waited till she heard a little animal. She couldn't guess what sort it was, scratching and scrambling about in the chimney close to her. Then saying to herself, "This is Bill." She gave one sharp kick and waited to see what would happen next. The first thing she heard was a general chorus of, "There goes Bill!"
We weren't ready.
Then the voices rabbit alone. Catch him! You by the hedge! Then silence. Then another confusion of voices. Hold up his head! Brandy now, don't choke him! How was it, old fellow? What happened to you? Tell us about it!
No, wait, like obviously normally like in
They're
these
all watching
times.
from outside. Like.
Yeah, but if you're saying hold his head and get brandy, like brandy was like and whiskey and things like that in those times were like used medicinally. Like she just like killed him.
At last came a feeble little squeaking voice. That's Bill, thought Alice. Well, I hardly know. No more, thank you. I'm better now. But I'm a deal too flustered to tell you. All I know is something comes at me like a jack in the box and up goes like a skyrocket.
That's my
you know what?
favorite. I'm
know
sorry
what?
to like interject it with my like stupid like Muttley laugh, but
Well, I hardly know. No more, thank you. I'm better now. But I'm a deal too flustered to tell you. All I know is something comes at me like a jack in the box and goes up like a skyrocket. So you did, old fellow, said the others. We must burn the house down.
Oh wow!
Said the rabbit's voice. We're burning that arson. And Alice called out as loud as she could. If you do, I'll set Dinah at you.
that's a lot of stuff that's just
Oh my
happened.
gosh.
I mean that escalated
Can't
very
process.
quickly.
Good.
Like let's send a person in. Oh no, he's been kicked out.
Yeah.
Just burn the house
Fine.
down.
Yeah, good. There was
What
a
about the cucumbers, rabbit?
Yeah.
They shall perish.
broken glass everywhere. There was dead silence instantly. And Alice thought to herself, I wonder what they will do next. If they had any sense, they'd take the roof off. After a minute or two, they began moving about again, and Alice heard the rabbit say, A barrowful will do to begin with. A barrowful of what? Thought Alice. But she had not long to doubt, for the next moment a shower of little
Nape.
pebbles... The next moment, a shower of little pebbles came rattling in at the window, and some of them hit her in the face. I'll put a stop to this, she said to herself, and shouted, You better not do that again, which produced another dead silence. Alice noticed with some surprise that the pebbles were all turning into little cakes as they lay on the floor, and a bright idea came into her head. If I eat one of these cakes, she thought, I'm sure to make some change in my size, and as it can't possibly make me any larger, it must make me smaller, I suppose. So she swallowed one of the cakes and was delighted to find that she began shrinking directly.
Do you know what's hilarious? The fact that you're saying that and me and David are nodding.
Yeah.
Like, this
See them,
makes
babe.
perfect
They're like, yeah,
sense.
no, logic.
Like, yes,
Yeah.
you know, the way things have been going so far, yes, that
Once
makes
you get
perfect
in the
sense.
Wonderland world, it makes perfect
From the
Yeah.
beginning, we were like, oh, don't touch that. And now it's just like, just
eat all the
guzzle
cake.
them in.
Just
Don't
shove
them in.
stop. I mean, to be honest, they were about to set light to you inside a house while you were in it.
Yeah.
Which would have been an interesting chapter to hear.
Yeah, exactly. So either way, I mean, you might as well.
But we know, we presume that didn't happen.
No, I don't think the next
I think they
chapter will be
changed their
the
minds.
burning house.
Yeah, no. As soon as she was small enough to get through the door, she ran out of the house and found quite a crowd of little animals and birds waiting outside. The poor little lizard, Bill, was in the middle.
I didn't guess that.
Bill's a
Sorry,
lizard.
We've just announced that he was a lizard the whole
Why
time.
did they not do that?
That's amazing.
Because we can't see him.
No, we can't.
So we
Alice
think,
can't see him.
Oh, right, so we just found out. Right,
What
okay.
would we have guessed he was?
I thought he was a bird. I think Bill and like a duck.
I was
had a duck.
I was thinking a rodent, like a ferret or something like that. Because
like a
why
mole?
would you send? I mean, it makes sense because
yeah.
obviously lizards are quite good at crawling through little spaces and stuff. So it does make sense, like sending him
Yeah, I
because they're
get it.
good climbers.
And
But I
also
was
if-
expecting a rodent.
If he lost his tail, it'd grow back.
Yeah, exactly.
Good fact about lizards, isn't
Yeah.
it? Yeah. The poor little lizard, Bill, was in the middle, being held up by two guinea pigs who were giving...
By this point, Lewis Carroll.
No,
would
she-
go,
What have we got in the hutch? Guinea pig.
guinea pigs, something else, who were giving it something out of a bottle. They all made a
They're
rush.
giving him brandy. See?
Oh, I see. Maybe it was
he's
brandy.
absolutely battered by this point.
Right. Yeah. No. Good.
That's what you were saying before. I've had enough. I've had enough.
Brandy. I see.
Literally 25 millilitres, which is a shot now, for
Yeah.
for a lizard would be...
Huge.
Death.
That's like 2 pints of brandy.
Yeah. They all made a rush at Alice the moment that she appeared, but she ran off as hard as she could and soon found herself safe in a thick wood. They're gone. We're out of the way.
Oh.
We're out of the woods, but into the woods. First thing I've got to do, said Alice to herself as she wandered about in the wood, is to grow to my right size again. And the second thing is to find a way into that lovely garden. I think that'll be the
Oh,
best
she's
plan.
remembered about it.
He hasn't forgotten about it entirely, yeah. It sounded like an excellent plan, no doubt, and very neatly and simply arranged. The only difficulty was that she had not the smallest idea how to set about it, and, while she was peering about anxiously among the trees, a little sharp bark just over her head made her look up in a great hurry.
Was that a climbing dog?
Wait, an enormous puppy was looking down at her with large round eyes and feebly stretching out one paw, trying
Oh, wait,
to
she's
touch her.
small. Sorry.
small.
Yeah, so it's probably a normal-sized
Normal-sized puppy.
Right.
Poor little thing, said Alice. in a-
Little, she's bigger than her.
I know, in a coaxing tone, and she tried hard to whistle to it. But she was terribly frightened all the time at the thought that it might be hungry, in which case she would be very likely to eat her, in spite of all of her coaxing. Hardly knowing what she did, she picked up a little bit of stick and held it out to the puppy, whereupon the puppy jumped into the air, off all of its feet at once, with a yelp of delight, and rushed at the stick, and made believe to worry it. And made believe to worry it. We don't use that phrase.
Also, how can you hold a little bit of stick? A stick is just a bit of... You're not going to be like, oh, I just lifted
Sorry,
up
can
the
you just
end.
grab me a little bit of
just gonna
stick?
Sort of,
Yeah.
sort of pivot it towards
yeah.
you. You either throw a whole stick
That's too
or
much
not.
stick. Too much stick.
Yeah.
Then Alice dodged behind a great thistle to keep herself from being run over, and the moment she appeared on the other side, the puppy made another rush at the stick and tumbled head over heels into it in its hurry to get hold of it. Then Alice, thinking it was very like having a game of play with a cart horse and expecting every moment to be trampled under its feet, ran round the thistle again. Then the puppy began a series of short charges at the stick, running a little way forwards each time and a long way back, and barking hoarsely all the while, till at last it sat down a good way off, panting, with its tongue hanging out of its mouth and its great eyes half shut.
She's tied it out.
Fine. This seemed to Alice a good opportunity for making her escape, so she set off at once and ran till she was quite tired and out of breath, until the puppy's bark sounded quite faint in the distance. And yet what a dear little puppy it was, said Alice, as she leant against a buttercup to rest herself, and fanned herself with one of the leaves. I should have liked teaching it tricks very much, if I'd only been the right size to do it. Oh dear, I'd nearly forgotten that I hadn't managed to grow up again.
Stop fanning yourself.
Let me see. How is it to be managed? I suppose I ought to eat or drink something sooner or other, but the great question is, what? The great question certainly was what. Alice looked all around her at the flowers and the blades of grass, but she could not see anything that looked like the right thing to eat or drink under the circumstances. There was a large mushroom growing near her, about the same height as herself. And when she had looked under it, and on both sides of it and behind it, it occurred to her that she might as well look and see what was on top of it. She stretched herself up on tiptoe and peeped over the edge of the mushroom, and her eyes immediately met those of a large blue caterpillar that was sitting on the top with its arms folded, quietly smoking a long hookah, and taking not the smallest notice of her or of anything else. End of chapter.
So that's kind of quite an action-packed.
So much
there.
happened there.
So she broke into the White Rabbit's house looking for the fan and the gloves.
Yeah.
Did she break in?
Well, I mean,
No,
she was asked. Yeah, she was asked to
asked.
go.
She ran it because she was asked to go in as Mary Ann.
But she knew she wasn't
"I'll
meant to
just
be
do
there
it."
because that's why she's like, oh, if I run into Mary Ann, she's going to tell me off.
That's it. And she drank the stuff.
It's a lot of growing and shrinking in this
All
book,
sorts
isn't
of
there?
Yeah.
Okay, is it just getting more and more chaotic as she becomes more and more unsure?
She's having an identity crisis, I think.
I mean, it's,
I think she was having an identity crisis when her eyes were against the thing and her arms were there going like, and she had all those blimmin' people outside, voiced by 3 people.
I want to know if her arm's out of the window and her face is like, and her legs up the chimney, how has she managed to pick up a cake and get it in her mouth?
She does, yeah, we go.
Just makes it work.
That's what
Well,
she
they
does.
start-
Oh no, they're throwing it at her.
yeah, they were raining the things.
So maybe it landed on her
yeah.
face and she just,
They're like, throw cake at her until she shrinks.
yeah, great. And she just caught one in her mouth.
Good.
So funny.
Well done for that.
The dog, obviously, looking at it, is the only animal that acts the way it does in the real world.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's
Every other animal so far
she
has
didn't
been able
bother
to talk.
she didn't
or
bother speaking to it, and she found out it was Russian or something.
No. So it's interesting that like it's the only animal that actually behaves like the animal from the real world.
Yeah.
And apparently, the author really hated dogs.
Really?
Yeah, so maybe it's just the case that he like reveals his disdain for dogs by not giving it any magical qualities or giving it any kind of personality beyond being a slobbering monster that wants a stick.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So if you'd like to join in the conversation, you can contact us on thelazybookclub@gmail.com.
Or drop us a little line on Twitter using our handle @LazyBookClubPod.
And we're exactly the same on Instagram @LazyBookClubPod.
So next week we will be looking at chapter 5. I'm guessing the title's probably got something to do with the caterpillar.
Oh, it does. Man.
Does it?
It's
do you want to have
called-
a guess? Hang on.
Okay, yeah.
The
Okay, you get
caterpillar smokes a pipe. I don't know, that was rubbish,
Good.
but yeah.
I mean,
Smoking caterpillars.
I can tell you chapter 5 was actually entitled Advice from a Caterpillar.
That
Yep.
famous advice.
Yeah.
The wisest of all creatures.
Yeah.
So if you'd like to know what the caterpillar thinks of life and how you should be living it, then tune in next week.